Good evening. Ira Epstein, and here we are with your weekend edition of your futures market wrap-up. And this wrap-up is the weekly play for the financial markets on this Sunday, the 31st of August, 2025. It's about 7:10 at night. Remember, you have abbreviated trading hours. Not all markets are going to be open. Example, the grains aren't open. As you could see, it's after 7 o'clock. You're not going to get them. You're not opening some of the, if you take a look, some of the different soft markets. But the gold is open, the silver is open, the dollar index is open with everything. And you're opening the bonds and notes and the energy market. So you got to pay attention to what's going on, the hours that they trade, the abbreviation, and so on. I want to remind you before I go any further in this that our summer sale is winding down. It goes through Labor Day. I've had some pressure on me to extend it. I haven't made up my mind that I can do that at the last minute. But go on to the website, iraepstein.com. You can, for any of my 3-month subscriptions, 1/3 off. For 1-year subscriptions, just hit the button that switches between 3-month and 1 month, 1/3 off in any of the courses. So I hope you take advantage of what we've got there. Right, and there'll be an icon up here you can click as well. All right, so let's go to the markets tonight and see just what is happening. In terms of economic news, there's none that we worry about in U.S. economic news tomorrow other than, of course, the different events that the president causes and so on. The NASDAQ is trying to make a bit of a recovery after a big washout. The two markets that are holding up the best, in my opinion, continue to be the Dow and the Russell at this point. The gold soared on Friday, so maybe we should now just go to the charts and see what the market action is on those and start here. In the S&P, at the beginning of the week, we're up 1/4 percentage point. You can see the market's approaching new highs on a weekly, on a monthly basis. The month is ending right now. So for the month, you can imagine how we're finishing up, which is pretty good. But again, we're into the new month. So don't go by this as being that. They'll have this all straightened out come Monday on the charts, Tuesday, I should say. When you look at the S&P 500, right now the market is up 1/4 on a weekly basis. And on a daily basis and weekly, this is the bar chart. You can see what the bar chart is doing as to where you're at. You're up 17 points, and for the fresh beginning, up 1/4 point. The trend remains up with higher lows, higher highs on everything. You're also looking at the moving average of closes where the market is over the 18-week, the 100, the 200. So where's the resistance on the chart? That would be the Bollinger Band, and now that's at 6,700. Can you make it that far from here? I've got some questions about that. Let me explain them. You're going to get your inflation readings and jobs reports over the next 2 weeks. Will they allow the Fed to make their move to cut interest rates? That's the big question that everybody's going to be looking at. Treat the CPI and PPI numbers differently than the jobs. The Fed has already said that no inflation is going to creep a bit, so any pullback in them is a surprise to the Fed, and that gives them even more reason to cut if, and that's the big if, the jobs report shows any weakness. If you looked at the jobless claims this past week, it didn't show that. When we take a look at the slow stochastics, fully embedded, still bullish. The market has gotten up to an all-time high in the Dow, and it's hanging in there with an embedded reading. I wouldn't be backing off and being bullish on that. The NASDAQ, however, nosedove. It kept the embedded reading, so don't get bearish on it. Just don't maybe be as bullish as you were. Those Mag 7 stocks have been fluctuating. NVIDIA, the big question, is there any upside left in it by some analysts? Others like me still think there's plenty left there. There's still the game when it comes to chips. When you look at the Russell, this is where the muscles come into the market. It's still running. It's got an embedded reading. Could it go to the 2477.10 level, 100 points from here for the contract high is the question. In the DAX, this was Friday's numbers. The market might be going back to the 18-week average of closes. And the bonds and notes are very much in sideways action. I can't say that. Well, let me come back and say this the right way. In the bonds, it's sideways action. In the 10-year notes, you're trying to push on the upside. And remember, the further you go down this rabbit hole where you get closer and closer to what Fed action would do. You get to the 1 month, the 30 day, which is the 1 month. You get to the 6 month, the 1 year, the 2 year, and that's where the big action takes place. In the dollar index, unless you can close over that 18-week average of closes, you're still with bearish bias and a bearish trend. The eurocurrency needs to clear 2 weeks ago's numbers in order to get bullish again. It is overbought. Currencies are sort of waffling like this. Not a lot that I like there. Look at the Canadian. No real trend on a weekly. Higher high, lower and low, doing nothing. Japanese yen, higher lows, but lower high, not doing a lot there. And in Bitcoin, I still see a market that acts like it wants to come down here, maybe get under the 100,000 mark. Is it trending down? It is not. It's a momentum play down. That can end at any point, but that's what I'm seeing in the chart so far. In the Brent versus WTI oil, well, you can see everything here is hanging in the Brent at the 18-week average of closes. The WTI is doing basically the same thing, but as long as they're under them, they have downside bias. Don't get all excited by this big, great gap here on this chart. What it really did is you had an expiration of 1 month into the next, and that's the price differential. But what it shows you is you didn't get that pop in the market for the Labor Day. You had it last week, and it didn't come up this week. So that's where I'm seeing the markets are at. I want to remind you, just go to iraepstein.com. That's where your subscriptions lie, and I'll catch up with you all when we do the next updates, and those will be on Tuesday. There'll be nothing tomorrow from me on Labor Day, okay? I have a huge party at our house. It'll be Tuesday when we begin again. You take care.